Hello everyone, so today we're going to be taking a look and see how well does an RTX 3060 run the game. And I just realized that this game reset the settings again. I had it on low settings because that's what we're going to be doing first, and it just the whole settings menu in this game is just not good. It keeps resetting and I have to restart the game every time. Yep, save them. Alright, so we're in the game. This is, whoa, it actually did reset everything. It literally reset my field of view. I didn't even know the game would do that. That's strange. Why does the game change field of view when resetting settings? That's odd, but let's go down here and check the frame rate. We're just going to bring up the performance overlay. Oh my gosh, you see that? That was terrible. So we're just going to run around the map here just a little bit, maybe a big old circle around this place. It's steadily, for the most part, staying above 100 frames with the RTX 3060, but sometimes this game stutters and it drops to like 10 frames a second, which is awful. Let's pull out the glider again. The glider doesn't seem to affect the frame rate by really anything. Let's jump in the water, see if the frames go down underwater. They don't, they actually increase. Usually water brings down frames, but in this game, water actually increases your frames when you're underwater. So even with an RTX 3060, this game on low settings, the lowest settings at 1080p, the game still doesn't stay above 100 frames at all times, which is kind of crazy. I knew this game was unoptimized, but I didn't know it was this unoptimized. But that's all we're gonna do. That's all we're gonna do for low settings. I am going to turn that off now. We're going to go into the settings and we are going to turn on DLSS real quick just to see if the frame rate changes at all. It should go up by a lot, but I think it's not actually changing. I turned the LSS on to quality, so it's not going to increase by a huge amount, but it should increase it. But it really doesn't look like it increased it at all, honestly. And that's probably because this game's on low settings, and I just realized the GPU utilization is not at 99 to 100%, so the GPU is getting underutilized. So that's another reason why not only is this game unoptimized, but that's why the frame rate isn't really as good as it could be, because it's not even using all of the GPU. Alright, now we're going to go to medium settings. We're going to turn DLSS off and motion blur off, because motion blur is terrible and everything else is staying the same. And these are medium settings, so let's save it. Alright, medium settings without DLSS, and I'm gonna be honest, the game doesn't actually look too different from what I see. The game is still stuttering, as it does. It seems from low to medium settings, we lost like maybe 10 to 20 frames. Because instead of it staying at like 100 to like 115, it stays at 85 to 95. But it is dropping with all these zombies on the screen. So it's staying in the 80s on medium settings, no DLSS, when in combat against a bunch of zombies. Boom! Slice! Get away from me, zombies. What are you trying to do? Let's actually do this. Let's grapple this thing. Boom. Set this on fire. Wait a couple seconds. Boom. Let's see. Explosion. Does it drop the frame rate? It does. It does a little bit, maybe like about 3 frames, but not really that much, so we don't really have to worry about that. Let's grab one of these zombies, make them fly. Actually, we'll just grab a bunch of zombies. And it seems that if you're going to be playing this game on medium settings with the RTX 3060 Ti, you are going to be getting around 80 frames, about 80 frames on average. Now, I don't think this is going to help. I'm going to turn DLSS on. So medium settings, DLSS. Let's see if it makes a difference. And it really doesn't make much of a difference. I think it gives you like 10 more frames. But yeah, about 10 more frames. So if you turn DLSS on it, on quality, it gives you about 10 more frames. at least when you're on medium settings. And again, GPU utilization is not very good. Alright, again, we're going to turn DLSS off, and we are going to go to the high settings, and again, turn motion blur off because motion blur is terrible, and we're just going to apply that. Alright, on high settings now, we are getting in the 70s, so basically every time you turn up the settings, you go down 10 frames, it seems. So, as low settings were like 90s and 100s, medium settings were like 80s and 90s, and then high settings is going to be 70 and 80s, and I'm sure with ray tracing it's going to get even worse. But we're going to activate this card trap. Oh, that's the card trap. I thought it was the car I was looking at. We're just going to wait for this to explode the zombies. Oh my gosh, it exploded me. Apparently I was sitting too close, but I thought I was further enough away. Let's not blow that out of proportion though.
Let's not blow this out of proportion.
Alright, here we go. Back into, we're going to actually activate that card trap, but this time we're going to stand further away, and let's see if it will drop under 60 frames. Oh my gosh! Where did those zombies just go? Oh my goodness. They just got blown away. Literally blown away. Alright, let's fight these guys. Boom! Get out of here. Let's see if the frame rate drops in a fight. It did drop below 60 just now as I was getting into the fight. We're gonna drop kick this guy. Oh my goodness, I'm getting beat up by these guys. Oh, here we go. Another explosion. Let's do it. Can't run from an explosion. There you go. That's for you. Oh wow, okay, he didn't take any damage, but you know what? I got exploding arrows. Oh my gosh, get off me. Hold on. Why can't I move? There we go. I couldn't run for a second, but we're good now. Just gonna boom, explode you. The frame rate is dropping into the 40s with explosions. So with an RTX 3060 on high settings without DLSS, you will not have a 60 frame average, or maybe average, but you won't have a 60 frames per second experience all the time, which is crazy, honestly. These explosive arrows definitely drag the frame rate down. So if you want a 60 plus experience all the time, there was a propane barrel right there. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna blow myself up again. But anyways, if you want a 60 frames per second all the time in Dying Light 2 with the RTX 3060, you're gonna have to enable DLSS on high quality and possibly even medium quality, because the explosions, especially the exploding arrows, just drag your frame rate down by a lot. It's definitely the exploding arrows. Every time I pull an arrow back, the game literally drops to 40 frames. Like right now, 86, watch, I'm not even shooting the arrow, I'm just pulling the arrow back, and it's dropping into the 30s, the 20s. The longer I hold this arrow, the more messed up it gets. So the arrow optimization, I can't believe that's even a thing, but the arrow optimization is completely broken. Alright, now we're going to enable DLSS on quality, and we're going to click OK, and we're going to go back here, getting a bit more frames, and we're just going to use one of these arrows again, and it still drops into the 40s. So using exploding arrows, or even the bow in general, is gonna like super decrease your frame rate. That's not even a good, that's not good grammar, but that's the way I'm gonna say it now. It's gonna severely decrease your frame rate. That's the word I was thinking of. It only took me 5 minutes to think of that word. Alright, so we have the ray trace renderer on now, and everything is turned to ray traced. So I'm just gonna turn motion blur off, and then we're going to wait, what game needs to turn on ultimate mode to enable ray trace reflections? There we go. So ray tracing, oh my gosh, what is the game doing there? I didn't even press the button to grapple, and it's already trying to grapple. Let's just make sure one more time that the ray tracing is on. Okay, it is on, and the frame rate, as I thought, it is just terrible, and we're gonna bring out the exploding arrows again. But the game is already in the 40s, so we're getting 40 frames per second with ray tracing on, and at 1080p with an RTX 3060. So if you want ray tracing and ultra settings for this game, you're gonna need like a 3080 or a 3090 just to get 60 frames per second at all time, or 60 frames per second on average probably, without turning DLSS on. And as we look around though, the game doesn't look really any different in my opinion. We're just gonna save this guy, I think. What? Hold on, we gotta save this guy. I'm just going to arrow him and then pull out the explosive arrows again, and the game is probably, it's already dropping into the 30s, but let's do some explosive arrows here. And the game isn't actually dropping below 30 like I thought it would. Oh, there we go. It dropped below 30. So if you play with an RTX 3060 and you have ray tracing on, it is going to drop below 30 frames per second unless you turn DLSS on. And as you see already, we have ray trace shadow, or ray trace. Let me get out of these zombies. Come on, zombies. I'm trying to do something. Let's go to this side real quick. We have ray trace reflections on, and you can see the reflection in the water, right? But if I look and take that object out of view, you see the reflection slowly starts to disappear, which means that the reflections are not ray traced. So you turn on ray trace reflections and it drops your frame rate, but not all reflections are ray traced. So there's even less of a point to turn on ray trace reflections because the reflections aren't actually ray traced, at least from what I can see. Though there is little, another reason is there's very little reflections in this game. Right there I can see the wall reflecting into the water, but as soon as we look away, that reflection goes away. Therefore the reflection is not ray traced, and therefore all these ray traced effects are useless and they just drag your frame rate down. I definitely wouldn't play like this at all on any card because the ray trace reflections are just not worth it. We're gonna do one more test, and we're going to turn on DLSS quality here, and we're going to save and see how much that affects the frame rate. It doesn't get us to 60 frames, but it gets us pretty close to 60 frames, but it's mostly 50 to 59. Sometimes it gets in the 60s, but you're still not getting a 60 frames per second on average experience. So let's see, with the RTX 3060 max settings, you're gonna have to, let's see if balance will get you 60 frames. Balance, DLSS balanced on ultra settings still can't give you a 60 frames per second average in this game. So we're going to go to DLSS performance, which I would not recommend because it will make the game look worse, but we're going to do it. And let's see, oh, you can already see DLSS performance making the game look worse with just those ropes. But it works pretty well with ray trace effects on DLSS performance 1080p. You're going to get above 60 frames for the first time. But again, it's not really worth the visual sacrifice to just get some trash ray tracing effects. Like, look at the water, it's super fuzzy. Alright, so that is going to be it. I definitely wouldn't recommend you use ray trace settings in this game because not only does it not look that different or good, it just, the ray trace reflections don't exist and it brings down your frame rate a lot. I personally use these settings right here. I use the DirectX 11 and I have everything set to high settings, and then the game with very high settings, the DirectX 11 renderer and DLSS quality, which are the settings I actually played through this game on, you get a good frame rate for the most part. You get at least 80s to 100 most of the time. Sometimes it will drop. It's the game. Like explosive arrows for some reason are still broken. I don't know what just hit me there. Oh, I walked on a mine. But explosive arrows are still broken, and if you plan on playing co-op will drop your frame rate also. So just remember, fire effects will drop your frame rate by a lot. As you see, those fire effects drop me to 40s. And if you play in co-op, it will also drop your frame rate for some reason. So in general, this game is just pretty unoptimized. But anyways, that is going to be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to hit that like button. Leave a comment below. Tell me what you guys think about this game and its performance, and what you're using to try and run and play this game. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button because you want to be subscribed. And I'll see you guys next time.